Well, there you go, folks. It's a good evening from Radio FM 88 Australia. Our co-host, of course, is in the UK, and she's just south of London. The guest tonight, tonight, of course, is in Australia, but in the UK, it's in the morning. Based in Switzerland, but he's currently in the UK. He's traveling around, and so he's going to be doing the interview from his car, the benefits of modern technology. So without further ado, it's a good morning to you, Pauline.
Hey, good morning, Jeff. It's very nice to be here with you again. And I'd like to welcome Raven to our conversation, who I met just a few weeks ago when he was describing through a friend of mine this hydrogen machine that he has been co-founder of. So welcome, Raven.
Very good morning to you, Pauline, and a good evening to everyone in Brisbane and Australia. Good to be with you.
Yes, it is good to see you. We know you're traveling around, and we've got our fingers crossed that the connections will stay. It's quite a miracle, really. In your car, I'm somewhere else in another room, and all three of us are connected. And not only that, the rest of the world is connected to us. So can you tell us a little bit about how you got involved with inventing or collaborating in order to create the hydrogen machine?
Yeah, well, I'll try and do a quick potted history. If I go back a little bit, back in the early 80s, a colleague and myself, we established a group of 17 cancer treatment centers, and essentially speaking, it was all focused on our own experience, really, because my mother and his father died at the same time from cancer, and he was a consultant anaesthetist in the health service at the time, and we both said, there's got to be other approaches to this. So we traveled all over the world and looked at different approaches and different protocols towards helping people with cancer, and eventually ended up in Mexico working with some great people there. We then started to establish those protocols in the UK and worked very well for a long period of time. But my interest has always been in 5 key principles, which is food, air, water, exercise, and mental attitude, i.e. what we think about, what goes through our mind. And when we think about air, so I've looked at all of these areas, water being a very, very profoundly important part of our daily life, because this body is water. But the air we breathe, and when we break down the air we breathe, hydrogen is the most prolific molecule in the universe. It's number 1 on the periodic table. And when we talked about this at the beginning, we said, what are we calling this? And I said, it's the Hydrogen Enigma. Enigma being a mystery that most people don't understand the importance and value of hydrogen. It's not only everywhere in our atmosphere, but it's highly important to our physical body in terms of how it helps our body to live. And, when we look at what's happening in the world right now, China just 2 weeks ago proved their hydrogen train running at 120 miles an hour in China. Toyota has just launched their first pure hydrogen vehicle, so clean energy. But our bodies are machines too, and energy is vitally important, and hydrogen plays a vital role in our body's energy support systems. So the reason I got into it really was because in my journey and learning about the key principles of what helps our body to be maintained in optimum state. Of course, food has been a vastly important thing for a long time, but we all know what's happened to the food chain across the world and what's the damage that's been caused. So if I go back to the sort of 70s, 80s, the nutrition industry, or what we would call a supplement industry, was really just starting to explode. And now we have this vast machine of nutritional supplements across the globe that has just really, from my point of view, become a money-making machine like many other things, because the value of the nutrients in them are not being absorbed by the body. And so working with another part of my Swiss connection companies, we were creating supplements using something called stabilized micelle technology. And I won't get into all of that, but one of the things that I came across was that when we created these supplements to be able to absorb 100% of it into your bloodstream, we tried for I don't know why we did it, but we used hydrogenated water instead of normal water to suspend these nutrients in. And what we found was that the hydrogen exploded the nutrients into the water very fast. And hence, so when we took them in the body, exploded them into the body. And that sort of took me on a journey really to begin to look at hydrogen and its value in the human system. And lo and behold, now when people go and look for it, you know, there are somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000 studies, not all human, some animal, but many, many, many studies on the value of hydrogen in the human system. And yet 99% of people have never heard of it, Pauline.
Very good. Oh, there she goes. She's got a technical problem. She's staying at a B&B. So what's actually happened, she's been coming up twice. So in which case, if we get her coming up twice, we get feedback. You're pretty impressive, the hydrogen. I mean, I know you're based over there in Switzerland, which was the home of the oxygen therapies. I mean, Ronald Reagan went over that part of the world when he had his health issues, isn't it? So it's been a real major forefront of looking at, you know, the technology such as Rife, and now you've come forth with you splitting up the oxygen and the hydrogen molecule. At one stage there, we used to have little bureaus around the different parts of Australia where you go in and breathe pure oxygen.
Yes.
I noticed in your website there, you ask for pure water. I mean, Western countries like us, you know, we don't get real pure water because it's filled with fluoride and other chemicals. So how do you overcome that situation with trying to get pure water? I mean, you get rainwater, and my mum used to catch rainwater so that she could put it in her iron. But so where do you get your pure water from?
So we use distilled water, Jeff, and it's important to use distilled water because anything else has got something in it. Even filtered water or reverse osmosis water, what we really need is distilled water. And so these days, you can, you know, in the UK, I know you can buy distilled water for your car battery. And we used to be able to buy it in pharmacies and all sorts of places to be able to use. Why distilled water? Because it contains nothing. I've always called it dead water and not something I would recommend to drink. But it's vitally important for our machine because what it does is that it doesn't contain any minerals or anything else. And it's not about creating drinking water. It's about creating a breathable OxyHydrogen gas. And so with distilled water, because there's nothing in it, we use an electrolysis process to split the bonds of the oxygen and the hydrogen from the water to create a gas that then contains nothing else. So it's just that gas. And that's important. So distilled water is the route. Now these days, of course, because the world has changed so much, we don't really need to go to the to the battery store or anywhere else to get distilled water these days. Amazon and places like that sell small distillers that you can use at home quite easily. So you can access distilled water in your home quite simply. And really, the machine doesn't use a great deal of water. So that's also important because we needed to make something. You talked about oxygen, you know, and hyperbaric oxygen chambers have been used for a very long time. I've used them a lot with sports people, but also with people with multiple sclerosis because it's very effective for them. But studies have shown that using OxyHydrogen compared to hyperbaric oxygen is not only just as effective, but in many cases is more effective. And that's important because just recently I was at the over at the races on the Isle of Man. You've probably heard of the TT, which is a world famous motorbike race. And all the racers there use a hyperbaric oxygen chamber to help their bodies repair and to prepare themselves for those races. So athletes are very used to it. The problem is for these people is to get into a chamber is not always easy. But never mind being athletic. If you're an infirmed person, you know you've got an illness and you're trying to clamber into a hyperbaric chamber, it's difficult. But more importantly, sometimes even getting to the place where the hyperbaric chamber is difficult. So creating a machine that someone can have in their own home or take on holiday with them or use wherever they are, we're able to just have distilled water in that machine that doesn't need replacing every 5 minutes. You know, it's got a long life in the machine. And it's about the ease of use and simplicity, but getting maximum benefits from something that is already well proven. So we know then that hydrogen can be more effective than oxygen, and in this scenario makes it far more available to the majority of people as opposed to the few that can actually get to a chamber jet.
Very good.
Wow.
I mean, I know the hyperbaric chamber has been used for divers. I mean, I did my PADI license, they brought it to our attention, and the sports guys in the rugby league fraternity here use it a fair bit. And I do recall going down to the Gold Coast to go into a hyperbaric chamber, but it was almost like a swag. It was, it was really claustrophobic. And I looked at it, and it was almost like you're walking, going to step inside a sausage. Really, you know. And it's really claustrophobic to the point. Nah, I'm not going on this. It was only about 18 inches high, you know, by about 2.5 inches wide, and it was, you know, 7.5 foot long. But how do you get out? That was the question.
Quite scary to a lot of people.
Not like a traditional room or something, you know, like inside. But so when you're describing your system, I thought, oh my God, that's so easy, isn't it?
Yeah, and the beauty of it is, you know, as well, Jeff, is that it's about ease of access, ease of use, making it as simple as possible, but all adaptable and usable for the entire family. You know, so we have little children to octogenarians and so on. Everybody using this because it works at such a base level. It helps people at the very fundamental cell level, which is vitally important. And we've seen so many great benefits from people using this. And all one has to do really, instead of me spouting on about it, there are many studies, is actually just go onto Google, Mr. Google, he's very clever, and just ask for information regarding hydrogen inhalation and any specific problem you're facing. And you'll find a plethora of information comes up of studies that have been done using this technology.
I'm always a great advocate. Yes, go ahead and ask Dr. Google what's going on. But having an experience for yourself and trusting one's own capacity to judge for themselves is a much easier option. I mean, I was very lucky that we met you, and I now have a hydrogen inhalation machine, and I've been using it daily since we met. And it seems to me that it's been very, very good in bringing out past traumas on a much more of a psychological level than a physical level with me.
Sure. Well, you know, Pauline, over the 40 odd years I've been working in health, you know, we're all very complex individuals, and we all struggle with many things through life. And for me, one of the important things was to try and condense as much capability into one system as we possibly could. And so, you know, I look at things from a universal perspective, where I try to, and I think, you know, we're surrounded by gases and we are all frequency. You know, our bodies are a community of frequencies. And of course, most people in the world these days have heard of Rife frequencies and Dr. Nogier frequencies and so on and so on. And we know for a fact that our body vibrates at certain frequencies. And not just that, but every cell in our body has a vibrational frequency. Certain organs have different frequencies, etc. So when we made our machine, our focus was, of course, the OxyHydrogen gas production because of its great value and its ability to enter the bloodstream instantly, but also also cross the blood-brain barrier, so it gets into every cell of the human body very fast, fires up the mitochondria, gets into the mitochondria, fires up that cell, energizes the body. But we thought, well, if we're going to use electricity to do this, which we would have to using electrolysis, why don't we incorporate the Rife frequencies and the Nogier frequencies into the system? Because if we consider our body, we're born like a radio, you know, and we're tuned into, let's say, Radio Brisbane from the day we're born, and everything's going along fine, and then someone walks along and kicks our radio, and we go offline, so we can't hear the station quite well. In terms of our body, something happens to us and our body doesn't communicate well, because all of a sudden the electrical frequencies have been upset. So what we're able to do is using these frequencies to create to sit on the membranes of the atoms of oxygen and hydrogen. We're impregnating creating the gases using these different set frequencies. And of course, all cells in the body have receptor sites, transmitters and receivers. And that's for them to be able to talk to each other, so that the body can actually, you know, communicate what's needed. Excuse me. So, for instance, you know, we have new hair every 27, 29 days, new nails, new skin. The whole body is designed to replicate itself based on DNA. And it can do that because the cells can talk to each other. But when the body gets damaged or the radio gets knocked offline, then intercellular communication can't happen. So we're using those frequencies to create an environment for the electrical frequencies to continue to flow within the system. I am sorry about this. I hope you can edit.
That's going live, bud.
So
no editing.
So we use the frequency. So we use the frequencies to create the gases from the electricity. So we're combining multiple capabilities within that machine. So we've not only got the gas now, but we're using electricity in different frequency modes to actually stimulate that electrical environment for intercellular communication in the body, which is fabulous. And then on top of that, we also recognize, you know, that Jeff is a different requirement of gas to Pauline, as to a 5-year-old child, etc. So each individual has a different level of need and requirement. So based on all of the studies that are out there, we looked at what was available in the world and we said, well, none of these systems or devices out there can calibrate or calculate, should I say, what a specific person needs, i.e. everyone's getting all or nothing. And that is not the best in all cases. So what we did is we created algorithms within the system that will calculate the exact amounts of OxyHydrogen gas that each individual needs. And that makes it extremely unique, along with the frequencies as a device. So we can calculate exactly what that needs based on the plethora of clinical evidence that exists or studies that exist for what individual needs what amount. Am I clear?
Yeah.
Okay, can I take it down a step? Because most people will come across frequencies. They'll tune into a radio station. They'll understand the term frequency because it's used all over in so many different aspects. But if I wanted to talk to someone about the frequency of the lungs, how would you describe it? Because to me, as frequency is a cycle, and how many times it goes through a particular cycle in a second, in a minute. So how can you describe frequencies in terms of bodily functions that make it more grounded, more accessible for an understanding for people that don't have electrical backgrounds or frequency in their normal technical life?
But I think your question leads to a more difficult answer for most people to understand in the way I'm hearing you, Pauline, because, you know, frequency, I think the vast majority of people understand in terms of a radio, as you put it. If you put it on 98.6, you'll get radio 1. If you put it 102.5, you'll get, you know, radio 4. People understand that as frequencies. If you relate that to the body,
Yeah.
the liver vibrates at a different frequency to the kidneys, which vibrates at a different frequency to the heart. So rather than getting into the technicalities of your question, I think the vast majority of people understand frequencies better in that way, as opposed to how many times it cycles and how it goes through the system, etc. I think it gets too far technical for people. They understand frequencies far easier to go, oh, okay, so my liver's this rate of frequency and my heart's that frequency. And we're using all of those frequencies constantly in the production of the gas. So it's vibrating through all of those different frequencies, because large majority of people wouldn't know whether to choose this frequency or that frequency. What do their bodies need? Because most people don't know. And so rather than having to choose a specific one to help with their heart, for instance, we've set the system so that it runs through all of them constantly. So it's running through all of those different frequencies to ignite that environment for the body, because they wouldn't know what's needed. Is that clear?
Fair enough.
Got
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Hey, I've got one question. Basically, you're saying our body is changing every 29 days, whatever. But are we cloning a clone of the clone? And that's why we yeah.
I think that's interesting, isn't it? It's an interesting question, but you know, we are just a community of cells, and we have a blueprint upon which those cells come together to form this physical body called your DNA. And your body replicates itself all of the time. You're constantly regenerating new cells, and you're constantly removing and repairing dead cells from the body. That happens all of the time. Disease is impacted massively by intercellular communications that break down, i.e. T cells in the body can't communicate with other cells. Or let's take it from the perspective of your bones, for instance. When we look at hormones, we have, you know, 54 different hormones in the human body, and we come to the hormone known as estrogen, which most people would know, which is a multiple functional hormone. One of its jobs is to create an osteoblast osteoclast, which is the taking away of dead bone cells and replacement of new bone cells. And it does that if everything's in balance, as does the entire system. So in an answer to what you're asking, yes, we're recloning from our DNA footprints our body all the time. We're regenerating our own body, and our body can regenerate brilliantly well in a perfect environment. But of course, we don't live in a perfect environment any longer. So by incorporating these different systems within one machine, we're helping the body to find a utopian place where it can regenerate as per the blueprint that they were born with to start with. So the body regenerates, or reclones itself, as you would say, to create that perfect end result as you see in a newborn baby.
Yeah, sure.
But it's an interesting question, isn't it? Are we cloning the clone?
Well, the thing is, I keep thinking of Rank Xerox when they came out with their photocopier. And now you get the original and you photocopy it and it come out all right. But at the end, it started to fade out, and then you had to put more toner in to get back to the original.
Yeah.
So, so can I say that your instrument is really the toner that's going back into get back to the
well, in one sense, yeah, it's keeping the toner topped up. You know, it's making sure that there's a perfect or the best environment possible, or in the case of your description, there is the best level of toner in the machine to create that perfect replication all of the time. And that's what we're attempting to achieve by incorporating these frequencies.
Now, you mentioned at the very start, I think, and pretty went off, but you talked about 5 different components of health. So obviously the OxyHydrogen is providing one of those or 2 of those components, and the others is all about your mental health and the food intake. You're just given this whole 5 principles a real kick along there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now in here, when sorry, on the website there, you've got the actual frequencies that have been used in what Solfeggio and
Yeah.
Other frequencies there. And is that what the reference that you're referring to? That when you're doing
Yes.
gas? Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
So these frequencies are incorporated within the production of that gas every time you use the machine. You don't have to have the frequencies on, so you can choose not to. So, for instance, the machine has a nighttime mode where the machine makes no noise and has no light on. Because if you've got an environment where you've got a child who you're supporting their health using the system, you don't want lights and bells going off, but also you don't want the frequencies on. And so that night mode doesn't allow you to have the frequencies because it's going to stimulate the body. And we want to leave the body in its good repairing sleep state. And so the machine doesn't have the frequencies at that point. But other than that, you can utilize them as you choose. And for those people that wanted to, the machine is preset with these frequencies, but the Rife frequencies can be added to by the user if they chose to. And we show people how to do that, especially a healthcare practitioner who might want to use specific frequencies themselves for a specific client. Then they can input that easily on the machine themselves, and we show them how to do that. So it's very, very multiple functional in that sense.
So when you have someone come and see you, do you actually do muscle testing, or you've got some other Russian device that tells them where it's?
I personally don't use kinesiology, but there are, and because I personally don't see so many people now as I used to, but there are many extremely efficient diagnostic systems now in what we might call the alternative world. And one of the things I love about Western medicine in many cases, is that diagnostics is really very brilliant in the capabilities of Western medicine. And so I love it from that perspective, but also from the perspective of using, surgery for trauma damage and many things like that. But of course, what we want to do is to get the people in the world to understand the ability to take care and responsibility for their own lives. And so diagnostically, you need to go and see a practitioner to be able to find out exactly what's going on with yourself. One of the things that we used to do, when we had clients come and see us with cancer, is we would ask them to bring all of the things that they're putting in their mouth from a clinical perspective, i.e. supplements and medications and all the rest of those things. And it was really interesting to see that one medication was dealing with the side effects of another medication, and so on and so on and so on, into a spiral, which was ludicrous. Yeah. And so what we want to do is to get to the root cause of something. And hydrogen in its effects is really special because it's dealing at a very root cause. It's getting at the very root, i.e. the cellular basis of life. Rather than trying to treat a symptom, we're going to the basis of life, creating the best environment for the body to do its own work. And I've said this for years, the best doctor you'll ever meet is the doctor that is your body. And given the right tools and the right environment, it can do miracles. And it really does. And so the OxyHydrogen system really is an assistant to create the very best environment for your own body to do its own work and to do it very well.
Wow. Wow. You should say that again because it's really important.
Say it all again. I don't know if I can remember what I said.
It was very good. It was like that you're going beyond all the supplements and all the other bits and pieces that conventional mainstream medicine is doing, giving people lots of things, and one is counteracting the use of another. And then when you've stripped all that away, you can come into going back to the basics of just hydrogen.
Yeah.
And then the hydrogen will kickstart everything back into the way it was intended to be in the first place. Have I summarized that correctly, or have I skipped over something?
No, in essence, yeah. I mean, essentially, our focus is to get the body to do what the body was designed to do. And if you look at it from a bird's eye perspective, why are we, why is our body mostly water, and why is the universe impacted and filled with so much hydrogen? Why is it number one on the periodic table? It has massive, massive impact on our physical body. But we are designed to replicate ourselves, or as Jeff put it, to reclone ourselves on a daily basis. But it can only do that if it's in the best environment, i.e. it's getting the best food, air, water, exercise, thought processes, what's going through the mind. But our world is not like that these days. Our world is so distorted in terms of all of those things: the food, the air, the water, the exercise, the mental attitude. We're not getting those. And so our environment is not good for our body to do what it's designed to do. So when we come back to what we need, and our machine, of course, also produces water that you can drink, hydrogenated water, not just hydrogen, OxyHydrogen that you can breathe. And the reason I'm saying it is I'll come back to it in a moment, because I talk about food, air, water, exercise, and mental attitude. Water is vitally important. So what we're looking at is to see, let's create the best environment we possibly can using what we already know, which is hydrogen's the number one prolific in the universe. Why is it there? Why isn't it something else? Why isn't it, CO4 or something? It's hydrogen because it's vitally important to our system. So understanding that, and water also being I love this term, isn't it? Someone said it to me a long time ago, and I loved it. I thought, I'm not against Western medicine in any form. I think it's brilliant in the right time, for the right purpose. Absolutely brilliant. But, God gave us water. The government didn't. God gave us that. And we're creating medicine from water. I mean, how cool is that? How amazing is that? Because what does it contain? Hydrogen and oxygen. The most important things to our physical body, those two components. And we're creating medicine from it because we're creating the best environment that our body needs to create the magic that God gave us, which is the ability to reproduce ourselves on a day-to-day basis if our environment is perfect. So yes is the answer. OxyHydrogen is helping to create that environment for us in a world that is so distorted.
So is it feasible to say that all the diagnostics that people are being given, all the range of illnesses that have been created through the medical world, underpinning all of that, regardless of what name you've been given, the hydrogen machine is going to, if you like, go under the radar and start working to reproduce that which hasn't been reproduced properly or recloned within the body through the normal way of people living these days?
I think, Pauline, I have to be really careful, because we cannot claim to treat, cure any illness or disease. But so I have to go around this a little bit the right way. And say again, modern medicine is wonderful in its right environment, without a doubt. But stepping out of that for a moment and saying, well, treating symptoms is a short-term salve. It's not solving the problem. It's about getting to the root of the problem. And everybody will benefit from using this type of system, regardless of where they're at. Regardless of their health state, regardless of their fitness state, everyone will benefit from using this system. And that's about as far as I can say in a public domain. The reality of it is the knock-on effect of, if the reason I mentioned that the prescriptive medicines is because when somebody comes in and they have a plastic bag full of medicines and they line them all up in a row from the last one they started taking compared to the first one, and we said, well, why are you taking this last one here? And they said, well, because when I was on the one before it, I had diarrhea, so they gave me this one to stop that. Okay, so why were you taking this one? Well, because when I was on the one before that, I couldn't sleep at night and had pains, nerve pains. So they gave me that to stop that, which knocked onto that. Do you see the problem? Is this knock-on effect of overprescribed medicines that are all treating symptoms. And yet what we're looking at is the very basis of life in terms of oxygen,
Yeah.
hydrogen, water, to give the best environment for the body to do its own work. And I mentioned water because if I meet somebody and they have difficulties in being able to look after themselves from a financial perspective, you know, I say to them, look, if you can only change one thing in your life, change your water. First of all, drink more of it and make sure it's good, clean water. If that's all you can do, that's the best thing you can do for your health. One of the things that we know is that when we start using OxyHydrogen inhalation systems, it gets into the body very fast, and it helps the body to detoxify very quickly. So the machine will also produce in a separate bottle at the same time water that every individual should drink that's highly impregnated with OxyHydrogen gases at that time. Because when they drink, it's important to drink that water as well as have the inhalation, because it helps to detoxify the liver and the kidneys fast, because the body starts to pour out its poisons and change, and you want to flush the body and help the poisons to come out of the system, which is why we produce the water at the same time.
Wow.
A sailing trip from Queensland's Gold Coast up to Darwin was 68 days. There was a fair bit of that time there we had to make our own water.
Yeah.
We were very conscious of the fact that it wasn't mineralized, and so we had to be made aware of that. We had to take salt, or particularly sulfuric salt, just to keep the mineral content, because there was nothing in the actual water maker that was coming out of the water. Yeah. So you mentioned at the very beginning to use distilled water.
Yeah.
Again, are you a great advocate of Celtic salt? Because I've been using it for mostly for the last 10 years now, 8 years at least. It's just full of bloody minerals in it, isn't it?
Well, isn't that a fascinating, you know, thing that's really just been exposed? You know, it's been said for many years, if you're suffering with heart conditions and heart problems, cut your salt, cut the salt, cut the salt. And yet salt is vitally important to our system. You know, there are two things that underpin every illness in the world. And one is mineral deficiency, and the second one is inflammation in the system. So one of the things that hydrogen, or OxyHydrogen in this case, does is a very, very, very effective anti-inflammatory. It helps the body to reduce inflammation in the system. So what causes pain? Inflammation. What causes all disease? Inflammation. And what's the answer to that? Using, you know, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs to bring that inflammation down. Well, OxyHydrogen helps to bring that down really rapidly in the system, which is brilliant. But to come to the issue of minerals, we use distilled water when we're producing the gases. But in the glass bottle that we say to people to drink, we say you need to have mineralized water in here, because you need to mineralize the body. We can put the gas into that mineralized water because it's already produced over here in the machine, and we put it into that mineralized water because minerals are the foundation of life. And I relate something to people to get a real understanding of the importance of minerals. So Celtic salt, absolutely vitally important, but you can get, you know, good broadband mineral complexes these days that you can add to the water that you're going to drink. But I relate it to them in this way, and I say, you know, when you hear of a pregnant lady and she's going through her pregnancy and her skin and her hair and her eyes, everything's really the best it can be. Why is that? Because her body is working at its base optimum level. It's producing everything that she needs. But at some stage, she might go through a phase where she starts to crave strange things like, you know, funny flavored foods or whatever. And she doesn't know why. But it's because the body is becoming minerally deficient, because the primary function of her body is to give everything that her body contains to that baby. So the baby's drawing all of the minerals out of her system in the womb. And she starts to crave things that she doesn't understand. Why do I want crocodile flavored crisps or whatever it might be? It's because the body automatically knows where those minerals exist in our world, i.e. what foods they might be in or what substance they're in. You often hear of pregnant ladies who lick coal, for instance, because of the minerals that are in coal. They don't know why they're doing it, and their husbands think they've gone crazy. It's because their body automatically knows the minerals exist within that material, and our body's deficient of them. Minerals, for me, are probably, you know, number 2, number 3 on the scale of what everyone should have every single day. And you have to put it in your food. You have to put it in your water, because it's no longer in the food chain. The amount that has been taken out of our food chain is beyond belief. We need it every single day. So along with your oxyhydrogen gas, and you're producing this lovely oxyhydrogenated water to drink, we say make sure it's mineralized water, or put a mineral supplement with it, or take minerals on a daily basis from a broadband perspective, because they're so vital.
Yeah, many years ago when I was very ill, it was my sister that took me to a lady who practiced celluloid mineral therapy. And of
Yep.
course, at that time, I didn't particularly know what was going on. And it was Blackmore's from Australia,
Yep.
which is what helped me get back onto my feet.
Yeah.
And then as the years went by, I was very curious as to, well, what was it about that? What was it about it? And what helped me? And because I knew it helped me, why did it help me? So all that level of intellectual curiosity. So I studied Blackmore's mineral therapy and Schussler's tissue salts. And, you know, there's like 12 major minerals. And without them, we're going to be deficient, and it will create a whole raft of different deficiencies and conditions within the body. So you're absolutely right. In my experience, that has been what happened to me. And I can't say it's self-corrected, because it didn't. It corrected because I used the potassium phosphate, calcium phosphate, all the various minerals that were available. But you don't need to do a huge investigation into the fundamental minerals. I mean, I must say, I threw my books up in the air when I came across trace mineral therapy, and there were things there that I couldn't even pronounce. And when I was studying nutrition, I said, okay, if you can't pronounce it, don't eat it. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, very good.
So I did learn to say molyglutamine.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, there is a plethora of information out there, and I find that, you know, most people these days get very confused because there's too much information. They don't know what to take, when to take it, how to take it, and so on. And that's really another fundamental behind the design of what we've created in terms of this OxyHydrogen system, is to condense as much into this one device that will give the body the maximum output it can, without being too complicated. And I think that's vitally important for people, to try and make it as simple as possible. And, you know, one of the things that I love to see is to see people get well. And from the simplistic things that, you know, I said this for years, you know, that God gave us everything we need in this world in order to sustain this human body. Everything already exists. We don't need to make anything special. All we're doing is to look at what has God given us, and how can we utilize that in the best possible way to support this body. And that's why we've produced what we've done, to create the best outcome. It's not about fixing something. It's about creating an environment where the body can fix itself.
Wow, that's lovely. And tell me, looking at the biorhythms that each of us have, is there a particular time of the day that is better to use this system or use the machine for particular, like in the morning for
I think
liver
it's an interesting question, because, you know, the body has rhythms through the night, doesn't it? You know, when you're asleep at night, the body's repairing cell structure. When you get up in the morning, what's the first thing you do? You go to the loo. Your body's detoxifying, getting toxins out of your system. You know, many nutritionists will say to you, don't eat fruits before 11 o'clock in the morning. Again, there's so much information out there. When you're using this machine, it takes 45 minutes to saturate the body when you're sitting, breathing quietly. So when you get up in the morning and you've been to the bathroom, it's good to be able to sit and have your cup of tea or whatever you do for 45 minutes and just let the body saturate itself while you're sitting there breathing the gas is in. They're not going to cause, there are no side effects. There's nothing toxic about it all. It's perfectly simple to do. And you sit there, read your paper, or do whatever you're doing, or sitting in the office doing your first hour's work. You can sit there, saturate the body, and that's going to take up to about 12 hours for it to gas out of your system, i.e. to become depleted in your system. And so I recommend to people, if they can do it twice a day, so in the morning when they wake up, and about an hour before they go to bed at night, because then they're again creating that optimum environment when they go to bed for the body to start to repair itself properly. Yeah. So detox in the morning, repair in the night. If I've got someone who is suffering with, chronic illnesses, I'll get them to use it as much as they possibly can, because one can't overdose on this. One can't cause themselves damage with it. But what we have seen and observed is that the more they use it, it seems the better they get.
All right.
I'm almost speechless. It doesn't really matter then what the name of the illness that has been diagnosed for a person. It is going to optimize their bodily functions. Is that a good summation?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, because unlike going to see a medical person that then says, okay, so take this specific substance to deal with that specific problem. Again, you're looking at very small areas of what the major issue is. What's the underlying cause of that? The underlying cause at some level is the body is not repairing itself. The body's not functioning the way it should function. Cellular replication is not taking place in the way that it should. Disease cells are happening in the body, or autophagy is not happening. Dead cells are not being cells are not being removed from the body in the way they should. If you look at cancer, we're all born with cancer cells. We're designed to have them in our system, but our body is designed to manage those cells on a day-to-day basis. And what happens somewhere along the stage is that our cells then become dysfunctional, i.e. the receptor sites shut down, the immune system can't communicate with them, the cells then become rogue, it's all out of control because the body's not talking to itself. What we're doing is giving the body the optimum environment, or supporting the optimum environment for the body to get back into action to do what it's supposed to do. Rather than saying, oh, use this amount of gas for that amount of time. No, what we're saying is use it because you need to create the best optimum environment. Your body will do the magic.
Yep.
So we live in magic, a magical world every single day, and we don't know it.
That is the hydrogen enigma, isn't it? The mystery is no mystery, really.
We got there in the end, the enigma.
Yeah, indeed.
Fantastic.
So this particular unit got is this like, you probably had a few previous models from that. So
yes,
what generation are we up to now?
We're on generation 4 here,
right.
And we're trying to improve our knowledge, and we work with some great people in the world. To our knowledge, this is the only machine in the world that we've created that does what it does. There's not another one of its kind. And I'm not saying that boastfully. I'm saying because, the world sticks together with glue, and the glue is money. And of course, everyone is looking to see how much money you can make out of everything. What we're trying to do is to bring as much technology into one space, reduce the cost of the need for all of those things, because we're bringing it all into one space. So we give a lifetime guarantee on our machines because we're very comfortable. We were very happy with what we've created, and we'll update those machines as we update things. But improvements are a constant advancement that we're looking to improve all of the time. And this machine now, I think, is absolutely superb based on everything that we know. And we're working with, the best molecular hydrogen specialists in the world, in the design, the best engineers in the world, to create something that is the best it can be. Will it change in the future? Hopefully, we'll learn more. If I go back to when I first started to, observe my mother dying with cancer in the 80s, compared to now, the landscape of what we understood then compared to now is radically changed. And I dare say in the next 10 years, the landscape of what we understand about human health will change radically again. But right now, this is the best that we know for what we can do. And, you know, doctors don't become doctors because they're going to make a lot of money. They become doctors because vocationally they feel, in most senses, that they want to do something good in this world. And so we're trying to provide systems that will take the pressure off medical doctors, because people are going, oh, okay, I can take responsibility for my own health. I can start to look after myself a lot better, and therefore I don't need to go to the doctor so much, and the pressure comes down a little bit, and they can be the magicians that they can be. Because, you know, if I stepped out of this car and someone hit me, and anyone came near me with an OxyHydrogen system, yeah, I poke them in the eye and say, get me an ambulance. That's what I need now. I need a hospital now. I need trauma surgery right now. I don't need a pill or a potion. I need this. So these things need to work compatibly together, i.e. bringing the best of technologies, the best of knowledge, the best of a constantly changing landscape of knowledge, incorporated into the best that we can to create the environment that God gave us. And let's face it, man has screwed up the environment that God gave us. And what we're doing is bringing it back to what God gave us, and utilizing that to create medicine from water.
I see your price is in euros.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you had anyone in Australia buy the unit?
I don't know. We haven't as yet. No. I mean, we are only a small company, Jeff. You know, our focus has not been about becoming some mass production global organization. You know, we've done what we've done because we believe our intent is right, is to help as many people as we can. And of course, we want to get it to as many people as we can in the world. So we're open to talk with anybody that might have an interest. We're very busy in Europe, and we're very, very busy in the UK and Ireland now. And I would love to, you know, talk with people that have an interest in Australia or anywhere else in the world that we could parley with to see how we can help others.
What's its dimensions and weight?
It weighs about 8 kilos, which isn't too heavy. When it's filled, that's filled with water. And its dimensions, I think, are around about 40 centimeters high, 40 centimeters long, and about 18 centimeters wide. So it's not a big device. It's quite, you know, it's quite quite easily handleable for 99% of people.
So it's about the size of an old-fashioned radio set.
Yeah, there you go.
In the 1950s.
Yeah.
So how do you distribute them? I see you got France and what was the other? Got another country, haven't you?
Yeah. So we don't sell through retail shops or anything like that at all. What we do is we have a referral system, which is I term it an affiliate system, a referral system. You know, one person refers another, and that's it basically. So the person that sells a machine, we pay them a referral fee. And if they sell a machine to someone else, then those two people will get a smaller amount. So it's just a two-level referral system. Because I say this because you know, I'm a little bit jaded with systems in the world, and I don't wish to offend anybody, but I don't like overpriced items because of systems that are designed on multiple levels to pay hundreds of people out of something. You know, it's that's an enigma to me. It's a big mystery. So I don't like those systems. I don't like the high retail systems. I like people that are feeling benefits, practitioners that are seeing benefits with their clients, recommending them on. And that's about the way it works. And I hope that's clear. So it's a two-level affiliate system, for want of a better description, or referral system. So if Pauline recommended a machine to Jeff, then Pauline would be paid a referral fee, and Jeff would get his machine. But if Jeff then went and found his sister who wants a machine, Jeff would get the referral fee for that machine. Pauline would just get a small amount, and that's it. That's as far as it goes.
So yeah, you got it. So when you do you actually manufacture and distribute from Switzerland? Do you?
We're in Switzerland and the Netherlands. Yes, at this moment, Netherlands is a better shipping place for us. But there's no reason why we couldn't expand that globally in time. But again, in my experience, Jeff, one of the things is important. It seems to have taken off really quite dramatically, and it's important for us to grow at a speed that we can manage, because if we went too fast, we'd fall over in the same way as we went too slow. So it's about being able to support what we can achieve,
Obviously people don't realize, but my other businesses is Australia Trade, New Zealand Shipping, so international trading is part of my core business. So I had a good look at that, and I realized it costs about $9,000 delivered to my door, Australian.
Good Lord.
If you went air freight, so you got your duty and you got your GST on top of your base price, and getting it air freighted rather than sea freight. 8 kilos is pretty minimal, and the size is pretty reasonable. But if you were going to do it, you'd have to. Well, you could bring in a few at the same time, but that's Anyway, I'm just giving you a heads up. $9,000 Australian, get you delivered to the door in Australia.
So, what is the is that still? Is it 50 cents to the pound? About? Oh no, sorry, $2 to the pound. About, is it?
Yeah. Your when you got your euros there was 3,400 or something.
Yeah. So it's about 2 to 1. Yeah.
3,600 worked out to 5,900 Australian.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the shipping, is it?
No, that's $6,000. That's from Switzerland, obviously, and then that's from X Works, from their shop or their store, whatever. And you got your transport, packaging, air freight, discharge costs, and then customs and quarantine clearance. I mean, I can do that in house, so it's not a cost to me. It's just paying the customs, their fees, and then the duty and the GST. Boom, boom. But anyway, anyone who's listening and watching would probably realize, okay, it's going to be $9,000 for this particular product delivered anywhere in Australia. So,
well, for me, it's about just finding the right partners to work with, Jeff, that we can actually, create an established way forward. But without a doubt, hydrogen is becoming a much, much more researched and understood substance and value to all of us. And so much more is being unveiled in this world right now that it is, in my view, the safest and best way to help someone be the best that they can be, without causing problems or being in challenging situations, let's say.
Got it.
Wow.
Okay.
Got it.
So there you go.
I mean, we had the Healy device that went, everybody around the world jumped into it. You don't hear much of it these days.
No.
It did its thing. Then we've got the Rife, all the different versions of Rife, and everybody's trying to outdo the other Rife machines. So
it's interesting.
Yes.
It's interesting that since I've started looking into and using the hydrogen machine, when I started investigating, I didn't know about Rife machines. I'd heard them in the periphery, but I started looking into them, and it's opened up a whole new world of different frequencies, different illnesses. It's a really huge pick and mix of what you can do and how you can play with this machine if you wanted to.
Yeah.
So and I haven't even asked. People have just been swamping me with so much information about the various frequencies and the Rife machines and what it does. The other frequencies I haven't even started yet. So I don't think I'll bother with that. Yeah, I won't bother with that. I'll keep it simple.
Yeah.
Well, we ran in a big soup, aren't we? So I mean, I changed all the frequencies. I changed all the music here to 432 hertz on all our playlists. So, but you can walk around a shopping center and you just get impacted by the very
that's right.
Yes.
The essence and the energy of the frequencies, and you're thinking, oh my God, no wonder blokes just want to go in and get out,
Yeah.
Well, I have to concur with you there, Jeff. I want to get in and get out too. It's not a gender thing.
Yeah. So You go on.
I have to say a very big thank you for taking the time to listen to me gabble on, but I'm very appreciative of people that have an interest, and unfortunately I'll have to get on, but may I say thank you at this stage.
Wow, Raven, it's always a delight to meet with you and to have conversations with you. They're always stimulating and they're always invigorating for me. I just think it's fabulous what you're doing. And thank you for pulling over and taking your time out to explain what you're doing. And hopefully, many, many people who can listen to this will be inspired to go and research for themselves. And if they can, get hold of your website and start looking after themselves in a way that they've never done before.
Sure, that'd be great. Thank you so much, Pauline. Thank you, Jeff. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Great evening.
Yeah, you
Bye-bye
too.
then.
Bye for now. Bye-bye.